presidential term is going to be increased from 4 years to 6 years. There is going to be another change allowing the current president to run for 2 more terms, which effectively means that President Sisi can remain in office till 2034, which means president for life or forever president, because Sisi right now is 64 years of age. But let's look at this newspaper editorial slightly differently. There was an Arab Spring series of anti-government protests that spread across in late 2010 in the Middle East. It began in Tunisia, can be an important question for your prelims exam, then spread to Libya, Egypt, then in Yemen, Syria, and Bahrain. Why Arab Spring spread across Middle East countries? This Arab Spring was a series of protests against dictatorship, against corruption, against authoritarian regimes in the Middle East, so on and so forth. But when it entered into Egypt, there were a series of protests at Tahrir Square, and the then president, Hosni Mubarak, his government ultimately fell. There were elections in Egypt, and in that election, a Muslim Brotherhood organization won the election, and Mr. Morsi became the president. But Mr. Morsi belonged to Muslim Brotherhood, which is considered to be a radical Salafi organization. This organization was banned by Hosni Mubarak when he was the president. But with the revolution at Tahrir Square, the demonstrations at Tahrir Square, the individuals who were sympathetic to Muslim Brotherhood, they contested the election, won the election, and Mr. Morsi became the president. But then soon, there was a military coup in Egypt. And the head of the military, Mr. Sisi, captured power. Mr. Morsi was arrested. He was put behind the bars, and he's still behind the bars. And now Sisi became the head of the government. And in all likelihood, if these constitutional changes are approved in the referendum, because these constitutional changes are to be approved in the national referendum, then Mr. Sisi can become president for life. This speaks volumes about revolutions not living up to the expectations of people. Or should we say that not all revolutions have a happy ending? The Russian Revolution, although it was one of the beautiful moments in the history, but it led to dictatorial regimes in Russia. Similarly, this Arab Spring, it led to chaos in the Middle East. This Arab Spring, although it resulted in flourishing of democracy initially in Egypt, but then soon it turned into a military dictatorship where Mr. Sisi is now trying to have military control, or military being the custodian of the Egypt constitution. So all revolutions do not have a happy ending. That is what you need to understand from this newspaper article. Then there is another column written by Saudi Arabia's ambassador to